Welcome, curious minds. Today, we're diving into a period of Chinese history that's just, well, it's so epic, full of these larger-than-life characters, incredible battles, intense drama. It's actually become one of the world's most influential literary masterpieces.
Absolutely. We're talking about the Three Kingdoms era.
And of course, the beloved novel it inspired, Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah, and our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack this incredible saga. We want to look at the historical realities, what actually shaped this period,
Right.
and then explore how this brilliant author breathed such vivid life into the characters and events.
And why does it still resonate? That's what I find fascinating. Why does this story stick around so deeply, especially across East Asian cultures?
Exactly. And to do that, we've pulled together a bunch of sources for this deep dive.
Yeah, we've got historical articles, academic research, expert summaries, trying to get you the most important nuggets.
So we'll start by setting that turbulent stage, the late Han Dynasty. It was a mess.
Then we'll introduce the key players, their philosophies, what drove them.
From there, we'll get into how the novel weaves fact and fiction together. It's not straight history.
No, definitely not. And we'll use Guan Yu's journey as a really compelling example of that, right?
Perfect example. And finally, we'll see how this whole dramatic period wrapped up and maybe pull out some lessons about power, human nature, stuff that still feels relevant today.
Okay, let's unpack it then. Where does this story really begin? It's the Han Dynasty, right?
Yeah,
Had a good run.
very good run. Over 4 centuries, a real golden age under strong leaders like Emperor Gaozulu Bang,
But there's that cycle in Chinese history, isn't there? Dynasties rise.
and they fall. They start strong, unite everything, but eventually corruption creeps in. It just seems to happen.
And that's what happened at the end of the Han.
Precisely. The empire was just riddled with palace intrigue. You had young emperors, easily influenced.
Giving way too much power to corrupt eunuchs.
Exactly. And these eunuchs, they'd bribed their way into positions, taxed the poor into oblivion to fund their lifestyles, which of course led to deadly infighting right there in the court. Meanwhile, the common people are suffering badly.
So the dynasty's rotting from the inside. What happens next? Does it just collapse or is there a spark?
Oh, there was definitely a spark. A big one. The Yellow Turban Rebellion in 184 CE.
Yellow turbans.
Okay, imagine widespread misery, severe droughts, crushing taxes. People were desperate.
And then someone steps in.
Wang Zhu, a Taoist cult leader. He rallied millions with this powerful message: the blue heaven is dying and the yellow heaven arises.
Wow, apocalyptic.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
His followers wore these yellow head wraps, hence the name, and they were promised land reform. That hits home when you're starving.
So this wasn't just a small uprising.
Not at all. Millions rose up against the Han. It was massive.
And the Han court, you said they were squabbling internally. How did they even react? Were they ready for this?
Ready. Not even close. They were totally unprepared, caught completely off guard.
So what do they do?
They had to call for help. They called upon independent warlords from all over the empire to put down the rebellion.
Ah, so figures like Cao Cao, Dongzhu.
Liu Bei, Sun Jin,
Huh?
those guys, they answered the call.
But that sounds dangerous, relying on powerful regional figures like that.
It was. That's the critical unintended consequence. It's a perfect example, really.
How so?
Well, they did crush the rebellion eventually, but relying on these warlords basically handed power over to them. It decentralized everything.
So solving one problem created a much bigger one down the line.
Exactly. It laid the groundwork for all the conflict that was about to explode.
Makes total sense. Okay, Han is weak, warlords are strong. Then Emperor Ling dies. Does that just throw fuel on the fire?
Absolutely. A huge power struggle kicks off for the throne.
Mm-hmm.
He was the empress's brother, the grand general. He made a really bad call.
What did he do?
He invited Dong Zhu, this really formidable warlord from the northwest, to the capital.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was Dong Zhu would help him get rid of those powerful eunuchs.
Okay, bringing in muscle. How did that work out?
Terribly. It was brutal. Jen gets lured into the palace, assassinated by the eunuchs.
Whoa.
Then the imperial army flips out and massacres the eunuchs in revenge. Total chaos.
And Dongzhu just arrives in the middle of this.
Right into the chaos. He finds the kid, emperor, and his brother wandering in the mountains, basically lost.
And he just takes charge.
Seizes control, boldly declares, "Now I rule." Just like that.
Wow. That's quite a power grab. How did the other warlords feel about that? Weren't they supposed to be loyal to the Han?
Outraged. Absolutely outraged. But getting unified against him, that was harder. Dongzhu's reign was pure tyranny.
What did he do?
Deposed the child emperor, put an even younger puppet, Emperor Xian, on the throne, ruled with an iron fist, killed rivals.
And totally disrespected all the imperial traditions, right?
Oh yeah, carried a sword in court, wore shoes when he wasn't supposed to, even slept on the emperor's bed, walked right in front of the emperor instead of bowing.
It's like he was deliberately provoking everyone, showing he didn't care about the old ways.
Exactly, like showing up to Buckingham Palace in shorts and putting your feet up. He was sending a message. I make the rules now.
So that disrespect must have pushed the other warlords too far?
It did. It sparked enough outrage to form a coalition. 18 warlords banded together against him.
Including Cao, Liu Bei.
Yuan Shao. Yep, the big names were there.
But Dong Zhuo wasn't defenseless. He had Lu Bu, right? His adopted son.
Ah, Lu Bu. Probably one of the most terrifying warriors in Chinese history. Supposedly never lost a duel. Feared by everyone.
But also notoriously treacherous.
Infamous for it. Betrayed pretty much every single warlord he ever served. A total wild card.
So did this big coalition manage to take down Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu?
Well, not at first. They fought, reached a stalemate, and then, like a lot of coalitions,
Fell apart. Internal squabbling.
you got it, bickering among themselves.
Yeah.
So Dong Zhuo looked pretty safe for a while.
But he did fall eventually.
Through a plot, the famous beauty trap, orchestrated by an official named Wang Yun.
Using his daughter.
His beautiful foster daughter, Dao Chan. She was used to drive a wedge between Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu. Made them rivals.
For her affection.
Basically, yeah.
Ah.
And it worked. It escalated until Lu Bu himself killed Dong Zhuo.
The treacherous Lu Bu strikes again.
And Dong Zhuo's end was memorable. Sources say his body was so fat they put a wick in his navel and it burned like a lamp for days on the roadside.
Yikes. Okay, so Dong Zhuo is gone. Dramatic exit. Does that stabilize things? Please tell me it stabilizes things.
No. Quite the opposite. His death left this huge power vacuum.
Oh, boy.
And China just plunged into even more chaotic civil war. Warlords everywhere fighting for control.
So who starts to come out on top in this mess?
Well, this is where Cao really begins his strategic climb. He's clever.
How so?
He takes control of the Han court, gets Emperor Xian under his thumb, basically his puppet.
Legitimacy.
Exactly. And then he starts expanding his territory, mopping up leftover yellow turbans, defeating big rivals like Yuan Shu, who also had eyes on the throne.
It sounds ruthless, though, this whole period.
Extremely. I mean, just look at Cao's retaliation against Zhou province. His father was killed there. He massacred hundreds of thousands of civilians in revenge.
Yeah.
Just wiped them out. It was brutal.
That's horrifying. What about Lu Bu during all this? Still causing trouble?
Oh, absolutely. True to form. Betrayed Liu Bei at one point, but his luck ran out. Cao eventually captured him.
And Cao.
Had him executed. Wisely decided you just couldn't trust a guy like Lu Bu.
Smart move. Okay, so Cao is consolidating power in the north. What's the next big clash?
That would be the Battle of Guandu. Year 200 CE. Hugely important.
Why is that?
Cao was massively outnumbered by his big northern rival, Yuan Shao. But Cao pulls off this incredible victory.
Against the odds again.
Strategy. He figured out Yuan Shao's weakness, his supply lines. Cao launched a surprise raid, destroyed the supply.
Crippling him.
Exactly. Plus, he got help from a defector, Yuan Shao's own advisor, Zhu Yu. That victory basically sealed Cao's control over northern China.
Okay, so the north is pretty much Cao's. What does that lead to?
It sets the stage for what historians call the three-legged kettle, the Dinglai.
Dinglai.
Yeah, it describes the balance of power that eventually emerges between the three main states, Cao's Wei in the north,
Right.
Sun Quan's Wu in the southeast,
Okay.
and Liu Bei's Shu in the southwest, modern Sichuan mostly.
The three kingdoms.
Yeah.
But Cao didn't just want the north, did he? He wanted it all.
His ambition was always unification.
Yeah.
So he makes this massive push south, goes after the other main players left, Liu Bei and Sun Quan.
Which leads us to Red Cliff.
The Battle of Red Cliff, 208 CE. Absolutely epic.
And again, Cao has the numbers, right? Like overwhelming numbers.
Huge advantage. Something like 200,000 soldiers against Liu Bei and Sun Quan's combined, maybe 50,000.
Seems impossible for them. How on earth did they win?
Well, it seemed impossible. But they formed an unlikely alliance first off. Liu Bei and Sun Quan teamed up.
Okay.
And then ingenuity, strategy. They used fire ships. That's the really famous part. Maybe a bit embellished in the novel, but effective.
Sailing burning ships into his fleet.
Pretty much. Combined with the fact that Cao's army, mostly Northerners, wasn't used to naval warfare, and they were suffering from disease. Bad timing for him.
So it was a combination of clever tactics and Cao Cao's own problems?
Exactly. It was a decisive underdog victory. And Red Cliff is crucial because it stopped Cao Cao from unifying China right then.
And solidified that three-kingdom structure, locked it in place.
Locked it in for decades. Wei, Shu, Ru. The three kingdoms were now truly established, even if not formally declared just yet.
So how do they become actual formal dynasties? When does that happen?
Well, it starts with Cao Cao's death, brain tumor, 220 CE.
Okay.
His son, Cao Pai, doesn't waste any time. He forces the puppet Emperor Xian to abdicate.
Finally gets rid of the Han pretense.
Yep. And establishes the Cao Wei dynasty. Declares himself emperor.
And how do the others react to that? Liu Bei, Sun Quan.
Liu Bei, who always claimed he was related to the Han emperors, saw this as his chance. In 221 CE, he declares himself emperor of Shu Han.
Shu Han claiming to be the legitimate continuation of the Han.
Exactly, a claim to legitimacy. And then Sun Quan, after waiting a few more years, formally established the Wu dynasty.
And there you have it. The three kingdoms formally declared Wei, Shu, Wu.
The triad is complete. China is officially divided.
Okay, now this is where I need to talk about the romance of the three kingdoms, the novel. Because it's so influential, but it's not straight history.
Not at all. Crucial point. It's a historical novel.
Meaning
it draws heavily on historical records. Here. The main one is Chen Shou's Records of the Three Kingdoms. It's pretty authoritative.
Right.
But Luo Guanzong, the author, also mixed in folk stories, opera plots from the Yuan dynasty, and a good dose of his own imagination.
So it's a blend, fact and fiction woven together.
Exactly. There's that famous description by a Qing dynasty historian, Zhang Sucheng, 7 parts fact and 3 parts fiction.
7 parts fact, 3 parts fiction.
Yeah.
That's a good rule of thumb. So what was Luo Guanzong trying to do? Why not just stick to the facts?
Well, he wanted to create a really engaging, sweeping story. A narrative that flowed, that brought these characters and events to life in a way dry history maybe doesn't.
Make it more captivating. Especially the warfare, the politics.
Right. Enhance things, dramatize them. He wasn't writing for academics. He was writing a gripping saga.
Let's use Guan Yu as an example. He's such a huge figure. How does the novel embellish his story? What about his relationship with Liu Bei?
Okay, good example.
Yeah.
Historically, the records just say Liu Bei and Guan Yu were super close, like brothers. Even shared a bed sometimes. It was that close.
Okay, so very tight bond. How does the novel portray it?
The novel gives us the Oath of the Peach Garden. Hugely famous scene.
Right, where Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei swear brotherhood.
Exactly. They swear this unbreakable oath. Help each other, serve the state, save the people, even die on the same day.
Which probably didn't happen historically.
No historical record of it.
Yeah.
But Luo Guanzong uses this fictional ceremony brilliantly. It crystallizes that idea of loyalty, Guan Yu's defining virtue, makes it iconic.
So the fiction serves to highlight a core value, makes it more powerful than just saying they were close.
Precisely. It turns loyalty into this immortal, relatable ideal. Way more powerful than just saying they shared sleeping quarters.
Fantastic example. Any other Guan Yu moments the novel amps up?
Oh, yeah. His famous killing Yan Liang.
Yan Ling was a rival general.
Right. The history is brief.
Yeah.
Records just says Guan Yu spotted Yan Liang in the enemy ranks, rode over, killed him, cut off his head, and rode back. Simple.
Okay, straightforward. What does the novel do?
The novel goes all out. First, it builds up Yan Liang's reputation, makes him seem really formidable, defeating other generals.
Raises the stakes.
Totally. Then it describes Guan Yu's charge in vivid detail. Phoenix eyes rounded, silkworm eyebrows fiercely bristling. He cuts down Yan Liang like he's unstoppable, like there was no army there.
It's pure heroic spectacle.
Exactly. It cemented Guan Yu's image as this unmatched warrior god in popular culture.
So the novel takes the historical core and just inflates it into legend. Does that make it hard for people, even today, to separate the man from the myth?
It absolutely can.
Oh.
But it also shows you how cultural memory works, how stories shape perception far more than dry facts sometimes.
And Guan Yu's evolution is amazing, isn't it? From a historical general for Shu
to this universally worshipped figure, a sage, sometimes even a literal god in Chinese folk religion.
How did that happen? It wasn't just the novel, was it?
No, it was a long process. Early on, him and Zhang Fei, Guan and Zhang, were just known as symbols of brave generals.
Okay.
But his deification really took off during the Song and Yuan dynasties, centuries later. There's a popular legend about him defeating an evil spirit, Qi Yeno, to end a drought near some salt ponds.
Salt ponds, okay.
Yeah, and that led to him being worshipped as a god of wealth, bizarrely enough, but also as a protective guardian figure.
And rulers promoted this too.
Absolutely. Emperors from different dynasties kept giving him posthumous titles, building temples. The common people embraced him too.
Why him? What did he represent?
He came to embody virtues like honesty, righteousness, and especially loyalty. That unwavering loyalty and willingness to sacrifice. It was an ideal that everyone, ministers, generals, common folk, could look up to, especially in chaotic times.
So his image was constantly being shaped by the needs of the present. He became a symbol.
A dynamic symbol, constantly evolving.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift back to the end of the historical period, the Three Kingdoms era. It sounds like it took a terrible toll.
Devastating. The human cost was unbelievable. You look at the census figures.
Yeah, you mentioned that, from over 56 million in the Han.
Down to just over 16 million after the reunification.
That's catastrophic. More than 2/3 of the population gone.
Gone. Wiped out by decades of civil war, massive famines, deadly plagues that swept through. Just unimaginable suffering.
And how did all that conflict change society itself? Military, technology.
Big shifts. You see the rise of hereditary military classes, families basically locked into soldiering for generations.
Wow.
And things like the Tuncheon system, military farming colonies. Armies had to feed themselves, so they made soldiers farm.
Practical. Any tech advancements amidst the chaos?
Surprisingly, yes. Zhuge Liang, Liu Bei's famous strategist, is credited with improving the repeating crossbow.
Ah, the Chukonu.
Right. And over in Wei, this engineer, Ma Jun, created amazing things. Hydraulic puppet theaters, water pumps, even the legendary south-pointing chariot.
A chariot that always pointed south, like a compass.
Supposedly, yeah. Some ingenious mechanical device. So innovation still happened, even if it's destruction.
So after all this fighting, the establishing of Wei, Shu, and Wu, how does it finally end? How does China get reunified? Did one kingdom just conquer the others?
Well, it wasn't quite a glorious conquest. Ironically, all three kingdoms, despite their grand beginnings, started to decline from within. Same old patterns.
History repeating itself already.
Pretty much. Wu suffered after Sun Quan's long reign ended. His successors were apparently tyrannical, more interested in pleasure than ruling.
Okay, Wu weakens. What about Shu?
Shu. Remember Liu Bei's son, Liu Shan, the Du figure?
The supposedly inept one.
Yeah. Under him, corrupt eunuchs gained power again. Same problem as the late Han. Shu weakened internally.
In a way, Cao state seemed the strongest.
It was, initially. But even there, young emperors became puppets. And this powerful family, the Sima family, started pulling the strings behind the scenes.
The Simas. Okay, so they're the ones to watch.
Exactly. Led by Sima Yi, initially, a brilliant strategist himself, and later his grandson, Sima Yan. They patiently built up their power within the Wei court.
Exploiting the weaknesses in Shu and Wu.
Cleverly. They waited for the right moments. First, Wei, under the Sima's control, really conquered Shu. It fell relatively quickly because it was already weak inside.
So Shu is gone. Wei controls the north and southwest.
But then Sima Yan makes his move. He forces the Wei emperor to abdicate, just like Cao Pai did to the Han emperor.
Turns the tables.
Completely. Usurps the throne and declares a new dynasty. The Jin dynasty. That's 279 CE.
So the Simas replaced the Caos, and now it's Jin versus Wu.
Right. And the Jin dynasty launches its final campaign against Wu. By this point, Wu is led by a really cruel and corrupt ruler, apparently. Lost the support of his people.
So Wu didn't put up much of a fight.
Fell pretty easily in 280 CE.
And just like that, China is reunified under the Jin dynasty.
The Three Kingdoms era is over. Roughly a century of division and warfare comes to an end.
Wow. What a journey. So wrapping this up, we've really traveled through this incredibly dramatic landscape, the history, the politics, the ambition.
Yeah, how all those historical events shaped this period of chaos. And then how Luo Guanzong's novel took that history and turned it into this timeless story.
From the Yellow Turban Rebellion kicking things off, to that amazing underdog win at Red Cliff, and then the slow decline and eventual reunification under the Jin.
It really shows how that blend of fact and fiction, history and storytelling created something incredibly powerful, a cultural touchstone.
Definitely. And the big lesson seems to be that cycle, right? The one you mentioned at the start.
Absolutely. The empire, long united, must divide, long divided, must unite. That famous opening line of the novel really captures a deep pattern in Chinese history.
It shows how even the biggest empires, the most noble ideals, they can just unravel from the inside, often because of the same things that made them great: power, ambition.
Exactly. The seeds of destruction are often sown during the rise.
So the final thought for everyone listening: what can all these struggles, these incredible loyalties, but also the stunning betrayals, What can this distant era actually teach us today? When you think about these characters, Yu Liang, so brilliant but ultimately tragic, or the calculating Cao Cao, or how Guan Yu became the symbol of justice, what stands out to you about how these huge stories get built on real history?
Yeah, and maybe how understanding those dynamics, the mix of fact, fiction, ambition, loyalty, betrayal, how might that help us navigate our own complex world?
Mm.
Power, leadership, just basic human nature. It's all in there, isn't it?